Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to go ahead and look at the tier list for the 7.3 patch. There's been a lot of combat changes, so there are going to be some things that are going to shuffle around. We'll go ahead and jump into it. First on the list we have Virulence. Does pretty good. It's pretty solid right now. It's nothing OP broken, but it's definitely playable in PvP. And the way we're going to take this tier list is basically if it's playable and viable, we're going to put it in our B tier. Definitely can use it. It's good, solid damage. Nothing completely wrong with it, but again, nothing really broken about it. Next, we have Deception. So Deception in 7.3 got some buffs to its execution bonus damage. And I got a couple bug fixes and things like that, so it is a little bit better. Deception right now is currently in S tier. It is very good, and the reason why Deception is so high is because it's very good at punishing players. But like, you can really burst someone down a lot easier now. That bonus damage does help secure the kill at the end. So Deception, easy S tier. Concealment really has not been doing that great. They've got a small adjustment with the best defense mods. The lifesteal effect has been a little bit better, so it's got a little bit more lifesteal on side of it, but it's still not doing great. It's okay-ish. There's nothing really to write home about it, but it's playable. So again, it's going to be in our B tier. Definitely behind Virulence right now. So Concealment, it's going to be sitting strong in our B tier. Just kind of our, like I said, our B tier is kind of average. Next, we have Lightning. So if we take a look at the patch notes for Lightning and everything that kind of happened with the Swtor, got a little bit of a buff. So its damage got buffed by one ability by 7% and then another ability by 5%. Stormwatch Tactical got a little bit of a buff too. But overall, Lightning is still not that great of a spec. It's still not putting out some DPS that other classes are doing. But I would put Lightning solid in the B tier. It's definitely better than Concealment. It's definitely viable, something you can bring. It's just not anything broken. It's just kind of okay. And that's what we're going to be seeing. There's going to be a lot of specs that are just okay right now. Next, we have Lethality. Lethality's been kind of broken for a long time right now. Nothing as far as the patch note has changed it at all. So Lethality, again, S tier. Everything that it just does great. It's better than Deception right now. There's just no weaknesses. That's the biggest thing with Lethality right now. There's no weaknesses for that DPS class. You can just play it and know you're going to have a good time. There's so many different ways to play it. It has such good control over everything. You're never really going to be focused either. You can always really get out of situations. Plus with its defensive, it's just very strong right now. Next, we have Marksman. Again, Sniper, Marksman. This has not been good for a very long time. They did do some buffs a little bit to try to help it, but honestly, it hasn't been really improved. They gave it a little bit more of some health regen and some things like that, but it's such a low amount that it's still sticking on our D tier. Marksman just doesn't do enough right now. It's mainly just the defensives. They're just not there. You can have okay games with it, but that's going to be few and far between. Most classes are going to outperform it. Moving on, we have Vengeance. Vengeance is pretty strong. Vengeance, definitely playable. You can definitely do it. It's definitely better than our B tier, than everything here. Lightning, Virulence, Concealment. So Vengeance is solid in our A tier right now. You could make the argument that it's S tier, but I'm going to save S tier for things that are completely broken. Vengeance DPS is just very predictable, so you can play around it. Next, we have Innovative Ordnance. Again, it's nothing to write home about. There's nothing in 7.3 that really changes the way it plays completely. I mean, it's got a slight buffment overall to Mercenaries, got a little bit of adjustments, but nothing major that's really going to change the game or anything like that. So it's in our B tier. It's better than Concealment, better than Lightning still, a little bit behind Virulence right now. Next, we have Arsenal. It's kind of in the same spot as IO. So IO and Arsenal have been very close right now. With the recent buffs, though, I would put Lightning... Oh, let me make sure we got IO here. I would put Lightning a little bit ahead of Arsenal, because it does have just the buffs, give it a slight advantage, but said these specs right here are very close right now. Next, On our list we have Rage. Rage is solid. But again, there's nothing really to write home about Rage. And if we look at the patch notes and everything, it really didn't get anything that's going to change a lot. It's still solid spec, still playable. The whole thing with Rage is it's kind of at the bottom of A tier, top of B tier. It's kind of close as far as where you want to put it. For right now, we'll just go ahead and put it in A tier. It's one of the weaker, what I would consider like above average specs. It's definitely good though. It's just not broken. Next on the list is we have Madness. My opinion of Madness has gone down. I used to think Madness was kind of in this broken tier, but it just hasn't been performing and stuff that I've seen. Plus, they did do some nerfs to it, so it's still strong. It's just not in that OP tier. I think Madness is stronger than Vengeance currently. Madness is probably the top of A tier. It's definitely moved out from S tier just because of the slight nerfs that it had and the way it's performing. Next, we have Pyrotech. You guys will see the Vanguard's classes, they got some major buffs. They just did. Everything about Vanguard's power techs got absolutely great buffs. So S tier. Pyrotech's in our S tier for right now. It's better than Deception. It just is. You're splitting hairs. I mean, you could call it. It even might be better than Lethality. I think it is actually. Now that I start thinking about it, I would rather have Pyro over Lethality right now. Sounds kind of crazy, but if you kind of see it, someone who knows what they're doing in the spec in PvP right now, they're just absolutely destroying. There's not too many people that are playing it very well, but the very top end of Pyrotech right now is just amazing. Moving on, next we have Fury. None of the Sentinel specs really got anything major as far as buffs, the Sentinels and Marauders. There's nothing to really write home about in 7.3. They're okay. I mean, their defenses and everything are still good. Everything like that. It's at the top of B tier. It's nothing amazing. You might make a case for it being closer to Rage at the bottom of A tier, but I want to kind of keep the separation as far as what I consider to be overperforming. So anything in A tier and S tier is going to be something I consider overperforming right now, and then B tier is just kind of neutral. Next we have Engineering. Engineering, again, didn't really get anything to really change a lot from it as far as 7.3, as far as any of the buffs or anything. So it's still solid though, has good burst, good damage. Again, what hurts its defensives, but since it has way more DPS pressure than Marksman right now, Engineering is solidly in our C tier. It's probably above IO right now, actually. It kind of looks something like that. Engineering is definitely playable in our B tier. I know, I meant to say B, not C. But Engineering, it's good DPS spec. You can bring it, it's pretty average. You can definitely have pop-off games on Engineering where it looks just absolutely insane, but those are few and far between. You really have to not be focused and not be touched. Now moving on to Advanced Prototype, S tier. All the Vanguard and Bounty Hunter and everything, all the specs are just amazing right now. The Power Tech specs in the Vanguard, they're all really good damage. Plus, again, buffs to this class. I don't know why we were buffing it, but it's good. It's definitely better than Deception. I don't think it's as good as Lethality right now. I just don't. And it's kind of weird. I think this is the first time in a very long time that Pyrotech is going to be outperforming AP. Just everything that's gone on with Pyrotech, and it's hard to basically kind of look at this, and some people are going to say I'm crazy, but really good Pyrotech, and there has to be people that can really play it really well, just outperforms AP right now. I've seen it time and time again in games where Pyrotech just the pop-off potential of Pyrotech right now is just so big compared to what AP can do. Next on our list is we have Carnage. Carnage is decent. Carnage is a little bit above Fury right now. You can not really make the case that Fury is better than Carnage. I think Carnage just overall just performs better than Fury. It's pretty mediocre. It's at the top of our average specs. It definitely has the defensives and everything. Works really good with heals. Same thing with Fury when you can get some heals and stuff. But the utility with Predation also is always nice. But it's nothing I would consider absolutely broken. Moving on to our list is we have Annihilation. Annihilation's in just a weird spot where sometimes Annihilation feels very strong depending on what teams you're going into. Sometimes it just feels like it doesn't do anything depending on the team comp. It's very inconsistent right now. So as far as like how inconsistent it is, I think it's better than Concealment though. It's better than Arsenal. It's better than Lightning. It's better than IO. I think Annihilation is kind of moved up from the C tier, just the way everything's been playing. Plus there was a small little buff to it that doesn't look much on the surface, but makes it play a lot more consistently. So it's not as rage-starved as it used to be. As you can see, there's going to be a lot of things in this B tier currently. It's just that the upper tiers are so much better. I wish there was kind of like A1 and A2 tier, because the upper tiers are so much. There's such a big separation between what's overperforming A tier and what's absolutely broken. It's a pretty big gap, so don't let just kind of the tier fool you. It's actually a huge gap between these specs. Next we have Hatred. Again, Hatred can have pop-off games. It really can, and I know people are gonna hate on where I'm gonna put Hatred, but the problem with Hatred, and it keeps popping up in PvP, and I see it over and over and over and over again. Plus it did get a little bit of a nerf. It just cannot survive any type of focus. It's so hard to carry games solo as Hatred. You can carry games solo as Pyrotech, as Lethality, AP, as Deception. You can definitely do it. You just can't carry games by yourself as Hatred. You need support. And that's kind of how I look at Hatred. Hatred's just, it really needs support. Now, if we're looking at, if you were in like a ranked 8 or a full 8 pre-made, that would change where Hatred goes. Hatred would probably be up in our A, the S tier, because its DPS is absolutely insane, but it needs that support. If you're just solo queuing into 8s, Hatred's a very hit or miss. It's so inconsistent. So I'm gonna put Hatred in our C tier. And you can see that's kind of our DPS specs. So we have a lot in the middle, and then the line of separation here between B and A tier I think is an absolute canyon. I think these 3 specs right here are way better than these other specs down here. And then again, I think we have another step up as far as where we're at right now. Let's go ahead and move on to our healers. So we take a look at operative heals. Operative heals are very good. They have been for a very long time. They're easily in our A tier. If we're kind of compare it to our DPS specs, I think operative heals is right behind Madness. Actually, operative heals are probably better than Madness right now. The way that I've been seeing it play enough, operative heals can carry pretty hard. Just the way everything's been going. So very strong. Sword healers is B tier, pretty average. They're at the top of our B tier though. There's nothing majorly wrong with them, anything like that. It's just operatives can do so much more things by themselves than what sword healers can. And it's kind of the same thing with the commando healer. I'm going to put it above sword healer. Commando healer, I kind of want to put it in our A tier, at the bottom end of A tier. I think it is a little bit of a step up from sword tier. The healers are, it's a little bit different with the healers compared to the DPS classes. The healers, there's not like a huge step up or a huge leap like I feel the DPS classes is, but I do feel like the commando healer and the Pyrotech healer is a bit of a not Pyrotech but Merc healer is a bit of a step up from Sword. And the way I'm kind of looking at it is, if you're taking this, you're queuing by yourself into 8s, operative probably is your best bet. Because of stealth, the ability to have like anti-focus is really good, and then it's probably the Merc healer just because of the DCDs, and then swords can get tunneled pretty easy, so they do need support. Next, we take a look at the tank specs. As far as like the buffs and everything in 7.3, not as lot has changed as far as the tank specs. They all pretty much do the same thing, put out the same amount of damage. There's nothing major about them. The only thing that I'm seeing is since some of these DPS specs has got buffs, like the Vanguard, like the Pyrotech mainly, there's some specs that just don't play well into them. But Shield Tank, again, it's so strong. I would put that as the second best spec in the game right now. I think Shield Tank is just insane. It really is just a step above the other 2 tanks. The other two tanks are good. I think the gap is actually very huge between Shield Tech and the other two tanks, though. So if we look at like the Jug tank, I would put it in the B tier. I just don't think that putting it in the A tier makes any sense with how big of a gap that is. I just want to kind of realize like how big of a gap there is between the tanks right now. I think it is the tank that's probably in the higher B tier. I think you would take it over a Sword Healer. I think it's somewhere in there, especially as we all know the whole skank tank version of it. It's still a thing. It still does good damage. I just think if you really want to play a tank, Shield Tech just is better. Just flat out better with everything that it can do. And Darkness. Again, I think Darkness is solid too. It's nothing bad about Darkness. It does a lot of good things. Darkness is really good for defending nodes and stuff like that. It really shines in those areas. And that's kind of why I keep Darkness kind of close to Immortal. I just think they do different things. I think the Jug tank is a little bit more of your offensive tank, while Darkness is a little bit better of your like defensive tank. It's because of its stealth and its CC ability and have to be able to reset fights and things like that. So it just depends on which kind of how you want to play those two. I think they're relatively close. There's not a lot that you're going to really get from either one. Both of them can be played very well. I just think the Shield Tech is such a step up currently. It just does everything well. It's good at defending, it's good at attacking, has good damage, it's good CC, good utility. I just don't think the other tanks are even in its class. So that's everything for a 7.3 patch here. Moving forward, if you guys have any comments or anything, just go ahead and put them down there. Like I said, just kind of the opinions and stuff that I've seen here lately. These are probably going to change. We're only a little bit into 7.3. So things haven't quite straightened out or anything like that or kind of settled. There could definitely be some changes. And as always, have a good day.